Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly is a truth-based historical novel following the lives of 3 women leading up to, during, and following the Second World War. Caroline is a charitable New York socialite working for the French consulate. Cassia is a Polish teenager. She is dealing with the invasion of her country by Nazis, the eventual deportation to a concentration camp. And then Herta is a German female doctor struggling to find work and herself in a very male-dominated field. The novel takes course over a total of 20 years as these girls face death, romance, persecution, fear, questions of morality and responsibility, and a lot more. So the novel is told from 3 different first-person perspectives. It jumps between each character, at first between each chapter, but then towards the end it dedicates a little more time towards Caroline and Cassia rather than Herta. Herta's real purpose in the novel is to provide a sort of contrast between the characters and to reveal a little more information from the German perspective. The structure is actually pretty cool because the author eventually merges the storylines together so that you can have 2 different characters experiencing the same situation or even interacting with each other, but you get 2 completely different responses to it. To me, the writing style didn't always seem super consistent. She used speech that didn't seem time appropriate and sometimes shifted between a first-person narrative and what seemed like a diary. So probably the biggest theme in Lilac Girls is the idea of perseverance and survival, in both physical and emotional. So throughout the novel, the characters are put in increasingly dangerous situations, especially Cassia. Cassia is put through endless struggle. Struggles test her ability to survive and cope with the war, the consequences of the war, the persecution she faces, especially at the concentration camp, as well as just surviving life after camp. It forces her to adapt and learn to survive. Herta also has to teach herself how to survive difficult times. Hers is more emotionally. Although her methods are questionable, she does figure out a way to calm herself down in a environment that is emotionally laborious and draining. So the idea of perseverance and survival actually ties into the main symbol in the book, which is lilac flowers, which, you know, is the name of the book and all. So the second theme in Lilac Girls is the characters struggle with their identity. Throughout the whole novel, the characters struggle to discover who they are, what they believe in, where they belong, and how far they're willing to go to support their beliefs. They struggle with some really tough moral questions, deciding what they're willing to do to help their family or their country on opposite sides of the war, essentially. Herta struggles intensely with first her inability to become a doctor due to the German rules, and then with the morality of what she begins to do. And she has to learn to accept what she's doing and her moral compass. Part 3 is where this theme comes out the most, as we learn about the effects of the war on the characters and how they're learning to find who they are after such terrible things have happened to them. The last major theme in the novel is the idea of family. This theme provides a very wanted, happy contrast to the really dark occurrences in the novel. The characters' love for their family and the emotional support system that's provided to them is really what makes them survive. I would recommend you read Lilac Girls if you like historical novels with a little bit of romance mixed in. If you want to learn just a little bit of the horrors that went down during World War II, this is the book to start with. It's also pretty cool because it tells historical events from a female perspective, which is kind of rare. I wouldn't read this book if you have trouble following along with books that jump around or that don't necessarily give you all the details that you want. So Lilac Girls is definitely a really intriguing book. The characters' storylines and growth is really interesting to watch. It's overall a really good insight into where and how these women found themselves in one of the biggest wars in history, and how they learn to survive and change and make good in the world. Yeah, Lilac Girls.